Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Valentine Lister, and this is my series on the Major Arcana cards. Today we are covering the Magician, and in this video you are going to learn a whole lot about this card, really know it in depth. We're going to go over the numerology, the secret symbolism, the astrology associations with the card, as well as the upright meaning and reversed meaning. All right, the Magician. So we're looking at three different versions of the card. In the center is the most popular version. This is the Rider-Waite version. It is not the first version. Tarot's history is that as far as people know, it goes back to the 1400s, and it was a card game that people played. There are like other myths about it, but nothing that's like super solid. So the Rider-Waite version of tarot cards came out in 1909 by publishers Rider and Waite, and the artwork is by Pamela Coleman Smith. It's the most popular. People ask you to read with real tarot. There is no real tarot. As you can see, there's all different versions, but this is the one that people are the most familiar with. And so on the right, we have another version. This is from the Light Seers deck. This is my deck that I recommend for beginners. I started with it. I love it so much. And this is another version I love as well. It's the Wayhome Tarot by Bakara Whitner. I learned a lot from her book, which is WTF Tarot, and that I linked that in the description below. I also linked Amazon links to these decks if you're interested in any of them. Okay, so one of the first things you'll notice is the numerology, that the Magician is associated with the number 1. And so the number 1 represents manifestation, creation, and action. You can kind of think of the number 1 as like a burst of energy coming to life. Okay, so secret symbolism. I'm going to start with the Rider-Waite because that has the most symbolism in it. And so we have these roses and lilies in the card. We just have roses here, and then we have roses and lilies here. And that represents creation. It represents spirit forming into matter. And then on the table, we have a wand, a cup, a sword, and a pentacle, and that represents the minor arcana. He rules the minor arcana and the elements of fire, water, air, and earth. Now, his hands are raised to the heavens to bring down the power of spirit and source to the earth with his magic wand. And that magic wand actually represents the ego and the self. And so he has this figure 8 on his head. You notice it's the infinity symbol, and it's also called a lemniscate or a lemniscate. I actually didn't look up how to pronounce it. I've only read it. Sorry, guys. But this represents eternal life and dominion. And we also see there's like a snake eating its tail on his waist, and that represents the Ouroboros. And that also represents it symbolizes eternity, the serpent devouring its tail, which is also related in astrology to the nodes of the moon. Okay, and overall, these symbols represent the merging of spirit and matter. Now, if we go to the right, we have the Light Seers deck variation. So we have the white light here of soul source coming from behind. And then we have this infinity symbol and the lemniscate. I swear I'll look up the definition by the next videos, guys, like how to pronounce this thing. Okay, and so this is on his hood, on his head. So I thought that's a little cool variation and one we can really relate to. And then we can see that there's also triangles here, creating a 6-pointed star on his arm. And that represents a sextile that actually represents Venus, even though that's not what like the astrological symbol of this, but it's a harmonious aspect, creating harmony with the air, earth, fire, and water represented by the nature in this card. So they don't actually have like these symbols here, but she actually has in this deck water, earth, the air, and the fire. The sun represents fire. All right, and then we have this cool little Wayhome Tarot version, and we have the infinity symbol, and then we have the hands coming through to manifest, and she does include the wand, the sword, the cup, and the pentacle to represent the 4 elements and the suits. And I love this. Remember with the one, it's like this burst of life, and so we have the bursting out of all of these different colors in the Wayhome Tarot version. One thing that's really that I find important to pay attention to is the colors, because the colors represent different things as well. And there's a history there with, like, if you've ever seen stained glass, colors are used in stained glass to portray a story and symbolism about the story. So we have the red roses in the vine. We have kind of like a pinkish thing here. That represents desire, passion, vitality, and courage. And then we have white here representing spirit, source, purity, matter, abstract thought, and innocence. Now, I know we said this represents like the ego and the soul. That's what it had said in the card, but you could also think of the snake as representing the ego and the white representing the soul. You know, there's sometimes you get conflicting information when you research these things. So use your intuition, see what speaks to you the most. And then we have the yellow here, like yellowish tones, and that represents creativity, optimism, enthusiasm, the magician creating. Then we have the green here, and that represents growth, fertility, and prosperity. We have like a little bit of, I saw like a little bit of brown tones, maybe not so much, but that represents grounding, permanence, practicality. With purple, that's mostly in the light seers deck. We have a lot of purples that represents wisdom, spirituality, and power. And then blue, we have some blue here and some blue here. That represents mental clarity, insight, and inspiration. And then we have black here. We have black tones, and that represents power, the unconscious, banishing, and wisdom. All right, so the astrological correspondence, the magician represents the god Mercury, the Roman god Mercury. This is also symbolic because back in the day, there's this book called the Hermetica, and there's Hermes, a guy named Hermes Trismegistus, who was like ancient Egyptian, like really wise soul, and he was able to merge. He actually, people believe he created astrology because he observed the movements of the heaven. He believed that viewing nature and viewing the planets gave us insight into the mind of God, that if we wanted to understand the mind of God, that we could do that by studying nature. And so he had this like merging of science and spirituality, and he was merging like symbolism of the soul into our lived reality and into the body. So Mercury represents the merging of spirit and matter together because he was able to move in between realms, from heaven to earth to Hades. Okay, and I created a nickname for this card because this helps me remember the card. And the nickname for this card is "Let's Make This Happen." So this is the part of the story where you're creating action, and you can learn more about what I mean with a story if you view my Major Arcana video and the easiest way to remember it. And in that video, I created a story connecting all of the cards together so you understand how they progress as a story that you can relate to. So if you haven't watched that video, I'll link a card here and I'll also put that in the description below. That's a really important video to watch to understand the Major Arcana. One thing to understand about the Major Arcana too that's important is that it's talking about big, major, life-changing events versus the Minor Arcana is talking about everyday things. And so with that being said, we're going to move on to the upright meaning. So merging of spirit and matter. The upright meaning means bringing many different factors together to make things happen, to creating something, bringing an idea for a project to life. Hustle, ambition. So some examples are applying to school, starting a new job, moving to a new home, starting a business, starting a new relationship. Okay, and then we'll have our reversed meaning. So reversed, I'm doing this like for brand newbies, right? Maybe you don't know what I mean by reversal. So reversal means that the card comes out turned over like this. Some people use them, some don't. I use them, and others don't. But basically, it just gives you more information about like how you or the person you're reading for is handling the energy, because reversals mean the energy is there. This energy is there, but it's being blocked or avoided. So if you're familiar with psychotherapy or you've worked as a therapist, this is also like, you could look at this as resistance. Somebody's not really accepting this energy in. So an example, if this card comes out reversed and this energy is being blocked, this comes out as sluggishness, indecision, procrastination, fear of taking action, and lacking of energy. All right, hope you enjoyed this video on the Magician. Super excited to share this with you guys. So a reminder, if you want to get to know all of the cards in the Major Arcana, like I've done in this video, in this series, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified when those videos come out. If you're watching this video way in the future after I finish this series, I have linked in the end screen a playlist to all the Major Arcana cards, as well as related videos in the Major Arcana, so make sure to check those out. All right, love you guys so much. Take care, bye. If you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified for whenever I release a new video every single week.